Hello, gentlemen. We'll start this project video off with a picture of my friend Sam sitting on the Royal Enfield in my garage. If you look around her, you can see that there's a lot of exposed insulation. You can see the only outlets that are in there, and you can see there's a lot of pegboard on the walls. And this project was to finish out the whole garage so that it would be a nicer place for me to work. So what I wanted to do was set the garage door up so it was no longer running off of an extension cable on the wall. I wanted to add a whole bunch more outlets along the walls, get rid of the pegboard, um, insulate everything, and make it super nice. And when I started, I kind of wanted to do something with the floor, but I'll go into that more later. But short story on the floor is I never changed it. Here you can see another more exposed insulation, how I had just rando stuff on shelves in the back there. And on this one here, you can see on the right there is a homemade workbench, and above the bike in the back is a shelf coming out of the wall that's also homemade. These were both there before I moved in, and you can't really see it, but there were two walls that were partially covered in drywall, and it was trashed. It had holes all in it and stuff, and the ceiling also was drywalled and had a whole bunch of issues as well, like a bunch of holes. So alright, so also I want to talk a little about why I thought I could do this, having zero experience with drywall or painting or anything like that. So when I first started modifying things, my first project was this BMW, and it was a 2007 335i manual, and I made it full bolt on, put a bunch of carbon on it, had it painted. I think it turned out really good. It was a beautiful car, and it was very expensive to modify this thing. But then I moved on to motorcycles and started doing those. And as soon as I started working on motorcycles, I just didn't drive that car anymore. So I ended up selling it, and actually I got a pretty good. I won't give you the price, but it was fair. It was fair. The mods were priced into the price, so I was pretty happy with it. And then from there, I did bikes. And then it's a point where you realize you can make changes, make your life better. And I started making changes to my house and improvements with zero experience. But it's my house, right? So unlimited do-overs. I can mess it up and redo it as many times as I want. It doesn't really matter. So now I'm going to go ahead and I wanted a nicer garage for a while, so I'm just going to just do this myself. Okay, so the first part of this project was what I would consider a demo. I got rid of my existing shelves. They were like plastic Amazon shelves, and then I had to take apart a workbench that was hooked to this. It was actually attached to the side of the garage. It was homemade from the previous owner, and it was pretty solid. A lot of staples in it, so I just had to completely dismantle it. And then also he had built a shelf in the front that was hanging off of the wall, and it was like many layered. It was kind of odd how it was built. I feel like he put it up once and it fell apart, and he just kept reinforcing it. I don't know, and it was in the wall pretty good. When I took it off, the drywall over there in the front was already damaged, and it just made it even worse. So it was just more to repair. And then anything else that I didn't want in the garage that I didn't want to store in there anymore, because I don't want stuff hanging on the walls anymore. I just want a clean look. I went ahead and put in my shed. So over the winter, I started doing the prep work, and the first prep work I did was I began repairing all the holes in the walls from the previous owner. It was a lot of 45-minute mud and sanding and going back over it again until everything was smooth. I did the walls and the ceiling, which I don't know how we got the ceiling so messed up, but it was all jacked up too. So that actually took me a while. I did it and redid it and kept sanding it. But eventually I got everything good with that. All right, so the next part of the project was to insulate and to run electric. And I got some initial estimates on having insulation blown up into the attic, and they were all over $1,600, and they had weird add-ons for like if I wanted the hatch to have extra insulation and all kinds of stuff. And I didn't want to deal with it, so I just went and bought some rolled insulation for the attic and some wall rolled insulation for the wall areas that weren't insulated. It was like missing a few places. I didn't want to go crazy with spray foam. I did use it behind outlets that I added, but I keep seeing things about how people use spray foam and now they can't sell their house and weird things happen. And I don't know. I didn't want to become an expert in spray foam, so I just went ahead and rolled it, did it the old-fashioned way. I rolled the ceiling out myself, and then I rolled all around the garage with some of the wall insulation where it was missing insulation, and a couple places on the walls. Then I added outlets along both sides of the garage along the wall, and I added an outlet on the ceiling by the garage door opener, and then I reran the garage door opener cables so that they're all going through the walls and through the attic. Next thing I did was replace my shelving with a Husky shelf and buy a tool chest and a tool cart to store my tools in. And I should not have done that. I should have just stored everything inside while I was working in the garage, because now I have these things in there that I have to move around while I'm drywalling. And so it was good that they're on wheels, but I didn't have wheels on the Husky shelf, so I had to buy these safe movers, these little these things you can slide under the corner of a safe, and those worked really well. So it wasn't ideal, but I was able to move things around, and everything was on wheels, so I was good to go. So eventually it became warm enough for me to actually start working in the garage on the drywall. And I took the bikes around back and I chained them up and put them under a tarp, and they stayed there for the entire length of the project. It was like a month. And the drywall showed up, and also I got some new seals for the outside of the garage, those flaps that kind of seal the door when it's closed. But the drywall showed up damaged. There were two 12s that I had ordered, and they were both like totally broken on one end, but I realized that they would still be decent 8s. And so I thought about everything, and the guy said I could refuse delivery, or I could just call in later or call in after he left and get some stuff replaced. And I ended up just saying, okay, I'll just take it, because I wanted to get started. And I looked at the damage, and I estimated that I still had enough to finish the project. And the things that were damaged, I watched enough Vancouver carpenter videos that didn't look like anything that I couldn't work around or just repair. So it wasn't ideal, but I just wanted to get started, and I thought I could do it. So I just went ahead and didn't file for any damages. Alright, now it's time for the real fun to begin. I could start hanging the drywall. And the first thing that happened was I started trying to hang it, and I had bought a brand new Ryobi screw gun for drywall, and every time I used it, it did a different thing. Like sometimes it would blow the screw all the way through, and sometimes it wouldn't go far enough. And I did like 30 screws, and I'm like, what is going on with this thing? And then it just stopped working altogether, and I realized this thing, it was just broken. Like I adjusted the clutch multiple times trying to figure out like what the right setting was, and it just died. So it was broken. And I was watching a Vancouver carpenter video, and he was talking about how he likes to use a plug-in electric screw gun. So I'm like, I'm just gonna change brands and change type. So I didn't get another battery one. I went ahead and got a plug-in DeWalt one. That thing worked great. So then I got to town, started got the clutch set right, and started putting screws in, hanging the drywall, routing out around the outlet boxes. I felt like I was really making progress at this point. And then it came to the taping part around the walls. That was not too hard around the walls. The corners were not fun at all. But I will say this, so if you have a garage that's been exposed like this for a long time with a halfway finished interior, take all the tape out. Just take it out. Especially the stuff in the ceiling, it will save you so much time. Like a lot of mine was bubbling, so I just pulled it out, and the ceiling, it was clearly not good anymore. But the stuff I didn't pull out, as soon as I started doing the second layer of mud on it, just because it was already had one. From when the house was really built, it started falling out. It just started falling out, and they had put tape along the inside edges of the walls too, and that stuff was just not good either. It would start coming out. So, just a word to the wise here: don't trust any of that tape. Just pull it. You'll save yourself so much time and agony. So another thing I did, another issue I had was the original drywall was 5/8 and I was putting in 1/2, and so the seam where the two drywalls met, there was a pretty big gap, and you're supposed to, like, you just fill it, right? You just like fill it and tape it and then build it out. But I built it out completely and then taped it, and then I built it out again, which, so it was not good. It was a pretty big hump there, and I had to like work on that for a while. So yeah, when you're doing your pre-fill, just do enough pre-fill for the tape. Don't like build it out. That's not what the pre-fill is. So pre-fill is to get your tape in if you have to, and to make it tapeable, and then build it out. That's a whole separate thing. So yeah, and you can see, like, I had painter's tarps over everything, painter's tarps on the floor, and the floor, like, when I was done with this project, that tarp on the floor was completely white. So I also bought a power sander. This thing I just got it from Amazon. It was like, it looks like a giant vacuum cleaner basically, but it's a sander, and that made like life so much easier, especially working on the roof. I brought one that was pretty heavy. I would buy a lighter one next time. But it really made short work of the ceiling sanding, because I was really tired of sanding when I was doing this. I used, like, so they said use the heavyweight all-purpose for when you're laying the tape, and then after that you do your 2 coats of GS3 lightweight over top of the wall stuff, and over top of the tape. And so it was really hard for me to sand down that heavyweight, especially up in the corners. So I don't know. I think maybe next time when I'm going to do the tape, I will either, instead of taping the corners, I'll try and caulk them. I didn't know that was a thing until I got done, because like they're still not sanded super well up there, because that heavyweight was just so hard to sand. So all right, this is drywall complete in the garage. Getting ready to do the first coat of primer. The painting process was nicer. It was a little slower pace, because you do a coat, then you let it sit for a day, then you could come back. Whereas when I was doing the drywall, I was like busting my hump on that stuff. So I did a coat of primer, and then for PVA primer, I think it's called, for drywall, and then I let it sit for a day, came back, and the new drywall didn't need another coat of primer, but the old drywall did, so I painted the old drywall with another coat of primer, let it sit for a day, came back, did a coat of paint, waited a day, did another coat of paint, and it was a little more pleasant than what I had been doing. And then I wanted to do something with the bricks and the masonry on the outside, so I bought a color called Breezy Blue, and they sell it for masonry paint, and they also sell that same color at Home Depot for the trim and the enamel stuff for the wood. And so I taped, first thing I did for the bricks was I chiseled them out. There was like, some of them had clumps of cement on them from when the house was built, and they weren't totally even, so I flattened them out, and then I went back with some cement that I had bought for another project, and I flattened them out so that they were smooth and they would look good when they were painted. And then I painted them with this Breezy Blue masonry paint. I gave them like 2 coats, and then I went back and I did the trim with the normal paint for Breezy Blue. I did a trim around the door, and I ended up doing the door too. I just liked it. I was gonna do a different color for the door initially, but I just liked the blue, so I did the trim and the door around the trim around the door and the door the same color. And then I did the trim around the manhole cover going into the attic, Breezy Blue, and I also did the woodwork around the garage door blue. So then I went ahead and added some trim that I bought across the top of the brickwork, and caulked it so it would look good. That trim is like, it's white, and it's white all the way through, so when I chopped it, the edges were still white, so I didn't have to paint it or anything, so it made it a little easier. I was feeling pretty happy about having the walls finished, and just went ahead and put on the plate covers for the outlets and things, and kind of arranged the shelf and the carts the way I wanted. One of the problems I had is I realized I had probably not bought the right kind of storage shelf that I wanted, or storage system. And so I looked up on the internet, like, what can I do to make this shelf work for me? So I researched Husky shelf mods, oddly, and so I could see that people were taking the bottom two shelves out and like tucking refrigerators under them and carts and stuff like that. And I figured that would be pretty much the same as having wall shelving. So I went ahead and did that with my Husky shelf. The accent wall is mirrors. I chose mirrors because they open up the room. It's like a nice illusion. It makes the whole space look bigger. And not everybody does it. It looks pretty cool too. So these mirrors are Glacier Bay mirrors. They're like $85 or $90 from Home Depot. And you can buy a J channel for them. So I just took a laser level, put the J channel down at the bottom at the height that I wanted. And then I went ahead and put the mirrors in one at a time. They come with clamps where you just kind of screw the top part into the wall that holds them up. So it looks pretty good when you're right up next to it. The farther away you get, the less continuity there is, because it's 4 different mirrors and they're not exactly perfect, but I really like it. It turned out really good. One thing I was worried about was, like, when I'm pulling into the garage, it's like I'm pulling into the mirror if they have headlights on, but it's not that bad. And I was happy that it wasn't like terrible after I did it, because I was like, man, I'm not going to regret this. But yeah, 10 out of 10, I would definitely do it again. For the lights, I bought an 8-pack of Barina lights. These are like, they're super bright ones, and they're actually not that bright. They're like about a good room level brightness. So if you're going to buy them, I would want to go any dimmer for a work area, but they turned out pretty good. And so they're all chained together, and they come with these kind of long connecting cables. And so what I did is I spliced them all down so they'd be really short, and I wrapped them in white shrink wrap so that at the corners where they bend, you can't really see the cables too easily, or they don't look out of place. And so I snapped them together. You can plug them directly into each other. So I have 4 sides of 2 lights stuck together. They come with everything you need to screw them into the ceiling, but you're probably going to want to get some different screws, because a couple of them, like, they're not great screws, and they say it in the reviews on Amazon. So if I were you, I would be prepared to use some different screws just to save yourself some trouble. I had one actually come out after it was all done, and I had to go back and put a different screw in. And so after I got them all spliced and put up, I used the laser level to put them up after I made all the splicings, and it turned out pretty good. I was going to do like a hex pattern like everybody does, but I didn't have the ceiling, the way everything was laid out, I didn't have the right spacing for it to end up looking right. It wouldn't be even if I put it up. So, and also I had to be careful about, like, when the garage door comes up, it's going to cover up most of the lights, and I wanted it to be somewhat front loaded so that it would be not hidden by the door. And also when I was done, I ended up leaving my original light in there. I just don't have the pull chain pulled on it. It's like a LED thing, a little like a LED solar panel light or whatever. It looks like it's a little satellite or something. That thing's pretty bright, and so if I ever need extra light, I'll just have that too. And so that chain of Barina lights, they're plugged into a socket, a light bulb socket that has plugs on it, or receptacles on it. And I just put that in my existing light socket, so all my lights are all chained together right now. So now it's time to do some final accessorizing to complete my vision. I bought a little drink cooler, slid it up under my Husky shelves. I bought a microwave, which to this day I've never used. I just thought it would look cool, but it does have a clock on it, so it is useful. And I went ahead and I bought a TV, and it looks really small in this picture. You can see my cat's hanging out. This is a picture I took when I was doing a little wall repair. That's actually a 75-inch Insignia. So the Insignia TVs, they're really cheap. I have like some small ones in my some of my bathrooms on the walls, and they hold up really well to the humidity and stuff. And like that 75-inch TV was like $500. So I'm not like putting a nice TV out where it could potentially be exposed to weather and heat and cold changes all the time. But they're pretty nice. And then I bought a patio furniture couch, and it's pretty cool. I bought this one specifically because it folds out into a bed, and I thought that was pretty cool. And also it fits like perfectly in this little area where I had left over. So, all right, so here's some pictures of the conclusion of the fully completed project. As you can see, my cats have claimed the garage and they just want to be in there all the time now. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the temperature. So going back to the floors on this, so everything, I looked at a bunch of floor options. I looked at epoxy and painting, and I looked at those tiles, and everything just looked like it would either be more maintenance or cause me a problem later. And I've spilled so many things on this floor up to now, and since I finished this, I've already spilled brake fluid, oil, and coolant all over the floor. And so I know that I'm just going to end up having a maintenance problem with the floor. And so I decided to keep it just cement. There was one option, was staining, which was something new I just saw, and that requires grinding down the cement. So I could possibly do that because it's not a coating. It would be just changing the color of the cement. So I could always do that. For a cost breakdown on the whole project, I spent $7,175 total, and I think to pay someone else to do it, it probably would have been like 15. And so of that, $25.92 was accessories like the couch and the refrigerator, and also tools. And then $45.83 was just the finishing, the paint, the drywall, and materials I used to actually finish out the garage. And while doing this project, I developed a huge respect for people that do this for a living, because it was not easy, it was hard, and it was like a lot of work. I would give myself a B+, I guess, in what I completed. It's pretty good. It's a garage. It's the first attempt, and I'm super happy with it. It was a lot of effort, a lot of time, so I had to break it up the smallest chunks and just keep plodding away at it. And it's hard for me to believe it's actually done, because for a long time I just lived in there, just working on there. And so what I'm going to do now is leave you guys with another picture of Sam's, and during Halloween with her friends saying goodbye to you. So appreciate y'all watching the video. There'll be a cost breakdown of categories in the description. So have a good one. Thanks for being with me.